Welcome, everyone, to Spirit Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for joining us on this very auspicious, celebrated summer solstice. The energy is immense and intense, but also I think it's very revealing in a way that can be very empowering. So we're going to be talking about that today, and also this is also going to be our wrap-up session for the summer. So after this, we will be taking a break and enjoying all the bounty that the summer offers, and then we'll be back again in the fall. So let's just dive into the solstice. How are you feeling about this energy, Elyse?
Mm, You know, we were talking before. Uh, um, it's I love the solstice. This specific I love both of the solstices, the summer and the winter, for different reasons. Um, this solstice feels really different to me. It feels in past, I'll say it's felt very like open and flowy, and we're moving into Cancer, which is water, and you're going into the summer and there's this kind of like buzz and excitement of like kids off school and the warmest and sunniest time of the year, and even though the days are starting to get a little bit shorter now, but you've just kind of got that like in my brain, even though I haven't been in school for a million years, I still think of like year end, right? Like it's
Yeah,
still
me
like
too.
the end of the year. I caught myself so many times being like next year, and then I'm like next school year, September, I'm not in school.
Yes.
Like I just, so my brain just kind of, it feels like end of year. It feels like this kind of, um, wrap up energy, but then there's this the spaciousness after it. Um, it doesn't feel that way to me this year. It feels, um, it feels a lot more intense, which is like, I think our word of the year on SCT this year.
Mhm.
Um, so it feels like that kind of as a baseline. And I'll say, I know we'll get into kind of the depths of it, but I'll say that like I've talked to so many people in the last week and change, just really going through it, and myself included. I'll be so for real. Like it's felt tough. And that's not even talking about collectively. Like collectively, holy wow, like it's a lot. It's scary, it's overwhelming. Like people are feeling all the feels, people are suffering. Like it's all sorts of things that are really, really hard right now. And then it also seems like individually, like every person that I'm close to, I think I've had conversations with them in the last week or two being like, it's hard out there. Like I'm really struggling with this, or this specific thing is happening, or I feel really stuck. And leading up to this, and I think we'll kind of talk about how this solstice has some shifting energy with this, but been a very stuck, kind of like stuck in the mud energy in a lot of life circumstances, and a lot of like, I don't know how to change this. I don't know how this is going to shift. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know how to make change in my life, and feeling really bound up by that. Um, and so it's felt a lot lower, I guess, in some ways leading up to this time, where normally like I was saying, there's like that buzz and that excitement in the air. And um yeah, so it's been a really different year. And I don't mean to say that all like doom and gloom, because I'm sure there's lots
Mhm.
of people that are experiencing good things individually as well. And we can also still find good things collectively too, right? Like while there's a lot of dark, there's also a lot of light that can come through in that.
Mhm.
Um, and the same goes for the individual journey, but it's kind of felt flip-flopped to me this year as how it's felt in past. How about you?
Mhm. Yeah, those are all really good points. And I agree with a lot of it, truly. Um, it has been extra intense, and I know that astrologers have been looking forward, not looking forward with excitement. Well, I mean, in one sense, excitement because of change, but they have been waiting for this solstice, basically,
Mm-hmm.
because of how it aligns and how it is asking for such significant change. Like, it is the most, like, okay, so the solstice is a point of transition, right? It's a point when we move from expansion into longer days and then contraction into shorter days, right? So it's that threshold. And this threshold specifically astrologically is a really big one. And it's marking bigger change within us, right? Like radical, I was trying to find the right words before we started recording, but it's like this like radical authenticity. It's asking you to be so authentic with yourself with no blinders for your own narratives that you're then willing to change what really needs to change. Like it's kind of like that conversation with a best friend when you're like, yeah, but this is okay and this is okay. And your friend is like, listen, this is how it really is. Like they
I think we've
see
had this
through it.
conversation with each other both at some
Yeah.
point or another, like, and
Yeah. And yeah. So I think that's what this solstice is asking us. And so we're really being brought to this precipice of discomfort. But if we can see like between the lines of what the discomfort is bringing, like it's oh yucky, I don't want it, I don't want it. But it's bringing it up to be like, how do you want to do this differently? And you may not know yet what that looks like. And I think that's the scariest part of these energies right now, or
Mhm,
the most unnerving, is again, we're in this new terrain that I've been talking about, Spirit's been talking about. So the old things, the old programs and ways of doing things that we did before don't necessarily apply. And so we're having to get creative now in discovering what is this new thing? What could it look like?
mhm,
Right? Like, how could you live your life or where, like, the job that you have or the relationships you have or how you spend your time? How could it be different? What
mhm,
could it look like? And I think the one of the challenging things is in order for us to really explore those things, we need time,
mhm,
we need downtime. But
mhm,
there's so much happening, whether it's your actual schedule of your daily life or the news and everything coming at you all the time. There's not a lot of brain space or time to
mhm,
ponder how can I reconfigure
mhm,
this all moving forward. So it's a very significant threshold point right now.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I so agree. And one of the pieces, I want to come back to the like busyness of things because I feel like there's so much with that. But one of the pieces that spirit like when I was sitting in this for myself, but also for some of the other people that I've been talking to and clients and things, um, one of the things that really kept coming up in relation to this, like, I feel so stuck. I feel so done. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move forward. And I'm just like completely exhausted in the thinking of how do I make this change? Right. And there is that energy with this solstice of the change. And I think for myself included and other people that I've talked to, it's like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know what even the next step would be. And all this week, it's come up in every conversation I've had, either with myself and my guides or other people, is that they've been really saying, go back to the basics of the idea of manifesting.
Mhm.
How do you want to feel? What is it that you want? You don't have to think about or have the next steps figured out. It doesn't even have to make sense how you're going to get there. It could just be this, like, in my heart of hearts, I know that this is what I want to see in the future. And getting from point A to, Z, there might be 0% clarity on what that looks like, even getting from A to B.
Mhm.
Let that all go. Lisa and I, back in the spring, sometime you were, I think, away, we did a how to manifest and like the basics of manifesting. And like, I think we have to remind ourselves of it sometimes too, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all, we're action oriented. We want to make change for ourselves. We're really committed to our own self growth and all these things. And you can really get wrapped up in like, okay, but what do I need to do? And that's one of my big lessons in this life, is like, how do I fix it? What's next? How do I, da, da, da. And all this week, Spirit was like, let that go, take a step back, lean into your exhaustion, because in that exhaustion is also surrender. And then when you can surrender, you have that moment of letting go where you can take a breath, find some of that stillness. And, I think we'll talk maybe about the busyness piece of it in a sec here, but leaning into that and then saying like, okay, how is it that I want to feel, right? I don't even know what the job wants to look like, or like what the job is going to look like, or the relationship that I want is going to look like, or the, you know, health or material thing or collective. How do I want? That's been a big one for me. Looking out at the collective and being like, oh my gosh, like this is not what I want for anyone. Okay, how do I want people in the collective to experience life? How do I want to experience life? What and leaning into those bigger picture ideas that might feel so out there, and like your linear critical brain might be like, I call bullshit. That's never going to happen. Right. And it's like, okay, thank you. And I'm just going to play in what might feel like a fantasy or a fairy tale
Mhm.
of what I wish to see collectively or within my own life in various ways, and feeling that. And like I said, go back to that video of how to manifest, because, we kind of go into all these things about, it's actually about the feeling. The details, the nuts and bolts don't really matter. And yes, we have to take action, right? Which is where those things come. But those action steps start to reveal themselves, the opportunities reveal themselves, the conversations reveal themselves once we start to really feel what we want to feel. And that
Mhm.
can take the form of like sitting outside in the sun on the solstice, or, any day, and just like daydreaming and imagining what it might feel like and letting yourself experience that for a couple minutes a day, right? That can be powerful enough to then allow you to have some clarity around what those actual tangible steps are. And so for me, they've just been like, back to the basics, back to the basics. You might not see how you're going to get there, but how do you want to feel? How would you like this experience to go? Maybe all of the past examples tell you it's not going to be like that. Work with that, do what you can, and then turn back towards what it is that you want.
Mhm. I think that's a great idea. And it's true. Like sometimes things get so complex and we don't need it to be
Mm-hmm.
that complex. Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's great advice. Great
Mm-hmm.
advice. I think too, another thing with the solstice though that can be really neat is it's a wonderful time to purposely make sacred your life, to do
Mm-hmm.
something very sacred, ceremonial, ritual based for you to really bring in the new. It's like Spirit kept saying that we do this with the full moon and the new moon. We manifest something in the new moon and we bring it to completion and let go of things in the full moon. And they're like, you already know how to do this. And the moon would be like a microcycle, right? Whereas the solstices are more like a macrocycle, right? Or maybe a mesocycle if you want to be specific. But it's a great opportunity to take a like purposeful, intentional action for your manifestation, right? Like make it a little bit bigger of a deal. And I think I'm going to do that too. I'm going to purposely make a bigger deal and do something. Probably one of those like hot pot things that are my favorite, right? Like you just fill this pot of water on the stove, you put all kinds of different like yummy smelling herbs or fruits or spices or whatever, and then you write down your intentions and you put them in there and you simmer it all day through your house. I love it. So like I think there's so much value in that because then we're taking back our power, not only intellectually with like slowing down and going back to the basics and all that, but then we're also working with the energetics of it and creating that energetic like hub and building up what it is we want behind those intentions. And that's one of the big things that I think again is harder to do in our life because we are kept so busy. And when I say kept, it is a conscious choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I complain about being busy myself, I know it's a conscious choice because I could choose to do things differently. But society really supports the busyness, right? Like we could do a whole show on that. But I think the value is slowing that down, taking that intentional time, which we miss out on so much, allows us that greater capacity for the manifestation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, I agree there is definitely an aspect of choice in that. And then I also think that it feels for a lot of people like there isn't a lot of choice because it's like, well, I have to work the two jobs, or I want to make sure my kids have sports and things and this and that. And society, I won't go down too much of a rabbit hole on this. Society rewards it, but it's also set up that way, right? That
Yeah.
like, and you and I have talked about this where I'm like, 2 day weekends that are just full of like all the adulty stuff that
Yes.
you don't have time for during the week because you're too busy with all the other adulty stuff is just garbage. I
Yeah.
hate it. Like I
Yeah.
don't say hate very often, but like it just
Yeah.
feels like such a it's just I'm like this is I can't. And so for me, I've started to like, okay, I'm gonna make time to get groceries on during the week if I can, or I'm gonna do this so that I can have like, I've started to carve out, and I don't always keep this, but I'm like, I try to have at least one day, and sometimes it's just half a day where I'm like, nothing, nothing,
Mhm.
nothing, nothing, which
Yeah.
seems so hard to access sometimes. And yeah, so anyways, all to say, but I also I agree with you that with so much going on collectively in any way, shape, or form that you look at it, having and finding, I loved what you said about sacredness, like sacred spaces and times to be intentional. And I think that's the thing, right? And we've talked about this before. It's like you probably have time, right? You probably have time where you're on your phone or you're watching, a fluffy show, which aren't inherently bad things. If you add
Mhm.
intention to that, it can actually make it really sacred. But then you can also sometimes take that and say, okay, I'm not going to scroll on my phone and watch funny videos. That's not what's going to feel sacred and space making for me today. It's actually going to be going and sitting outside in the quiet and meditating, or just like
Yeah.
enjoying being mindful and enjoying the space around me. One of the things I really noticed, I was away last week, and it wasn't a super long time away. And it was kind of hectic getting there and busy. And I was having this conversation with a friend too of like, why is pre and post vacation stressful? Like, why is that? And
Right?
then like the first couple of days, you're like, and groceries and all. And then you like, it takes you a few days to settle in because you just came out of this craziness of trying to get
Yeah.
everything organized. And then all of a sudden vacation's over. And now you're like, okay, then we got to get groceries. We're not going to have any food. And like, it's
Yeah.
just,
I know.
ah, it makes me mental. But all to say, I really noticed this sadness coming up out of my body when I was on vacation. And I remember saying to you, like, I don't know why I feel so sad. Like, yeah, there's been a lot of things going on, and, I'm going through some things, and like, I'm really happy and I'm peaceful here. And as I sat with it, it was this like, my body was like, I want more of this. Like, we need more of this. And it felt so sad as like the vacation neared an end,
Yeah.
going back to a life that I really love in so many ways. Like, it's not to say there's a lack of gratitude or that it's all bad or anything, but it was this like disconnect from the chaos. Like, we were off our phones a lot more. We were a lot more mindful of those things. And, we still watched shows and whatever, but I was just a lot more intentional about sitting at the beach. And I just would like, I wasn't even reading. I was just like staring out at the water and just doing nothing. And even that, it was like, okay, for me, sometimes those slower moments are still doing moments, are still moments where I'm like, okay, I need to work on this, or I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to try to focus on this. And sometimes that still feels like work.
Yeah.
Um, so all to say, I think over the summer, my focus, and it kind of feels like collectively the focus is in some ways, where can I slow down? Where can I create more space? And it doesn't mean you have to stop everything that you're doing, or that you have to have time off work to do that, or you have to disconnect from the things going on around us in the world, because it's important that we're aware and that we're contributing to change. But it's to say that, like, in order to exist in the 3D world that we're in right now, those moments are super important, and our bodies and our spirits are going to yell louder and louder and louder until we listen to them, because I think we're seeing that, like, that word intense of 2020, like, that's going to continue.
Yeah.
um probably into 2026 as well and onward, right? Like things are not chilling out anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're now having to reevaluate. Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint, both collectively and individually.
Mm-hmm.
How are we making sure we're nourished and pacing and
Yeah.
well supported as best as we can
Yeah.
throughout it?
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's great. And so for some, that might seem like, okay, that's so many things to think about. But here's the cool thing coming back to the solstice. The solstice is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, right? It's the longest day of the year. So think of how much time you have in that day. If you're not following the like clock, but you're just following the light,
Mm-hmm.
think of how much time you have to be intentional, to ponder, to go do something, to come back and to ponder and to like, it's fully available. And so what if for one day on the solstice, you just let go of everything
Mm-hmm.
and just allowed yourself to roll through the energies of the entire day, pondering when you do, doing something when you do, and giving yourself that opportunity for that sacredness on that day. I wonder how many people would actually find more clarity.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. I'm going to try it
Yeah.
out myself.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah.
On the solstice too, and I'm curious if you felt this. Um, I mean, the solar flares have been
A lot.
no words.
No words.
That's what they've been. Ugh. Um, and I know like we've been texting and texting in our group around like, okay, there was another one, and okay, this has been wild, and okay, like what's happening?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't like logically my brain goes, okay, well, there's reasons for this for you. Um, I'm looking forward to the days getting shorter. Like
Mm,
something for me about the length of the days this year, it happens every year. It's the same every year. Like many, many trips around this sun, and it hasn't changed. For some reason this year, I don't know if it's because of the intensity of the sun. My spirit is like, yes, 5 months. Like, and it's like, it feels uncomfortable that it's light so late.
mm.
Even though, again, it happens every year, it feels
So
different this year. And I
interesting.
don't know if it's the intensity of the sun,
Yeah.
like literally the sun rays feel more intense. Um, I don't know if it's the solar activity that's just been extra spicy that I like that still persists even when the days get longer, but
Mhm.
maybe it will feel different. Or if it's something else, if it's the energy of it, if it's, oh, that was the other one I was gonna say, time. Like time has felt so
Yes.
weird to me. So time strangeness coupled with the long days is just like really messing with my brain and my being. Um, but I'm excited for that. The the shift towards darkness, which I
Yeah.
know like not a lot of people feel, but and maybe for me, I also really love the darkness because it feels comforting and cozy and it feels easier to go inward for me when
Mm.
it's darker. So um maybe it's that it's my body kind of longing for that.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I'm like, oh, it's gonna start getting darker early.
That's so interesting.
Which like no one in the southern or northern hemisphere feels because when it's
No.
the winter solstice, it's like what they're 2 hours of sunlight a day.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think that's exactly the thing is like honoring what feels right for you instead of forcing yourself to like, I should want the whole,
Mm-hmm.
most amount of light in summer. Like, no, like honor you. That's what the summer solstice wants you to do, that like
Mm-hmm.
radical authenticity
Mm-hmm.
and looking into what it's telling you. Like, why are you being drawn to that? What is that telling you? And how can you align with it more? Whatever it may be. And so I just, as much as there's so much going on in the world, at the same time, I just feel such a bounty in this crazy energy of the solstice because I think it's here to show us so much individually. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's I mean, there's a lot going on collectively and we're seeing a lot of things like that. That's all happening. But I feel like on the individual level, it has the potential to really help us shift things, like a restructuring, a reconfiguring, and not necessarily even because what is bad,
Mm,
but it's just like a better pair of shoes. You know,
mm,
like you could have these shoes and they're great, or you could have these shoes. And when you put
mhm,
those shoes on, you're like, yeah,
These are the
that's would
shoes
be
I didn't
better.
even know I needed.
Right. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize that I always get a sore back at the end of the day. And these shoes make it so that I don't. Like just that reconfiguration that just supports you so much more. I just really feel that in the ether and the energy. So
hmm Yeah. And to go back to, what I was saying, piggybacking off of that analogy, it's like maybe you didn't realize that the shoes were the issue, but what you wanted to feel was less pain in your body at the end of the day.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're like, great, try these new shoes. And you're like, but I just bought these shoes. And they're like, yeah, no, they're not the right ones for your skeletal structure. So give these ones a try. And then you're like, oh shit, look at that. How much
yeah,
better do I feel? Right. And you didn't even know that that was the step that you needed to take. It was,
yes,
your brain was saying something else. It's
yes,
going back to like, oh, how do you want to feel? I want to feel, X, Y, and Z, and really honing in on that.
yep. And it's giving yourself that space to try on those new shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us will be too busy to stop to try. Oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. It's like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. Take the time on the solstice to pay attention to those things. If the shoes come up, try them on.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that in the ether and I really feel that from spirit, as well as feeling the human fatigue and the busyness. Like I definitely feel that, but it's a very strong message coming through from spirit of like what the bounty that's awaiting in the solstice. Yeah.
Yeah. I also
Right.
think too, it gives us a little bit of our power back
Mhm.
when you feel so stuck and you are kind of struggling against it and it feels like you're not getting anywhere, you're just getting more exhausted and more stuck. Um, Being able to do that allows you to do something to take that power back and I think for me and a lot of the other people that I've been speaking to recently, that's been kind of the crux of it. Like I just feel powerless in this situation.
Mhm.
And, circumstantially, it might look like that. And it might really feel like that in a lot of ways. And, I think I said to you one day when I was having a day, I'm like, I'm aware, from a stress response, like physiological perspective, when we are in a stressful state and we're in that panic or stuckness or, whatever it is, depleted, our like our brain doesn't think critically in the way that it fully can to its full potential to see all of the potential options out there. We get
Yeah.
really kind of blinders on and hyper focused in on the problem in front of us, but we miss all of the other solutions outside of it. And I think I said to you, like, I'm aware that there's probably all sorts of, solutions or steps or things outside of my view right now that are present. I just can't see them right now. And I'm trying to stop the struggle and lean into that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I'd say to connect with the people in your space to get it out, to voice that you feel stuck. Because for me, voicing it, getting it out, maybe if you don't feel like you have somebody to talk to about that, you could write it in the comments here. You could journal it. You could, burn it on the solstice. You could, and even the days to come,
Yeah.
have a ritual or a sacredness around that. But allowing yourself to just voice it, get it out of your system, rest and surrender a little bit. And then through that, those opportunities come up and you can take your power back and you don't feel so stuck anymore. After doing that with you and just like kind of what, and then voicing like, I'm aware of like what my brain is doing right now and I'm exhausted and it's like all these things. Nothing changed. Like the circumstances that I was, venting about didn't change, but I felt a lightness in it. I felt a release in it. I could go about my day not feeling like I was flailing in the mud so much.
Mhm. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I feel a draw to pull
Hmm.
two cards here from, okay. So this is one of my favorite card decks, the Guiding
Ooh,
Light Oracle by Kelly Smith.
Smith.
Um,
I haven't seen that one.
I've pulled from it for you for sure. And I
Oh,
find this one to
okay. I
be
have seen that one.
so, yeah. Um,
I lied.
I pulled from this one lots. Um, I find it to be so good when needing this like bigger shift understanding. Like it's these are I would compare them to like major arcana cards. These aren't like
Hmm.
daily life things. These are like themes.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I find it. It's a very big deck, so your hands would not work with this deck,
Do they
Elyse.
have a pocket sized?
No, like I can
For those
barely
who
get my
don't,
hands around it.
for those who don't know, I have the limb size of a child, so we'll buy each other cards, and if they're too big, I can't deal with them. I can't shuffle them properly.
Yes. Yes. Or the time that I bought you a tarot deck that was in French and you don't speak French and I didn't realize they were in French. And
And it
she's
was like
like,
old French too. I don't even think you could read them.
no, it's like an ancient tarot deck, basically, which
Yeah,
I learned about. I talk about it in my tarot course.
very cool.
Anyways, worst gift ever because you're like, thanks.
Like,
I
wow.
can't use them at all.
At that time, not only had I no idea about tarot, but I also could not read them. And there was no guidebook even.
There's
Like it's all
no
like
guidebook.
I'm like, okay, I can pull the guidebook out, put it into Google Translate, no problem. No. There was
Nothing. Nothing. So then she just gifted them back to me a couple years later.
yeah.
She's like, here you go.
There you go.
And I
Happy
have them
Christmas.
sitting up there. That's funny. Okay. That's funny. Oh, I love these. Okay. So here is our message for the solstice. The first one is reach for the stars. So this card says you have barely scratched the surface, you have unlimited potential, and you are getting ready to experience this firsthand.
Mm.
This is that energy of the solstice, right? Saying, hey,
Mhm.
change. Like, let's change this. You can experience this amazingness. The second one, you are worthy. This says
Mm.
it's time to stop feeling unworthy, unloved, and undeserving. Totally what the solstice is asking, right?
Mhm.
And then the third one, untapped inner power. And this says you're
Mm.
getting ready to experience a great power from within yourself. So, like, look at this really amazing theme of like power and potential coming in, and you're worthy of it.
Mhm.
You're absolutely
Mhm.
worthy of it. And I do want to say this deck has a ton of really crappy cards too, like ones that kick you in the pants. So it's
Mhm.
not just a floofy deck. This is
Mhm.
really quite beautiful messaging for the solstice, what
Mhm.
we've talked about.
Yeah, I love that. And that untapped potential also
Yeah.
feels to me like our ability to go back to how we want to create.
Yes.
Like what do you
Yeah.
want to create? I'm
Yeah.
wondering too, can you pull a card for I was looking for the deck that I've been using lately, but it's in the other room. So um focus over the summer.
Focus
Like
on them.
as
Good
we
call.
wrap up, what
Yeah.
is
Good
there any
call.
guidance that comes
Yeah.
forth around focus this summer?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Oh my goodness, Kay, this is so cool. So first of all, focus for the summer is soul purpose.
Mm,
Okay. So something exciting is on the horizon for you if you follow your passion, which I think is why the solstice is like, come on, get in alignment. Like
mhm,
there is this waiting for you. This like nebula of your
mhm,
purpose is waiting for you. Okay, now this is where it's amazing. It is echoed by the supernova card and the boon card. They're
mm,
basically similar. So supernova, um, it says an aspect of your personality, the ego self, must die to make way for a shiny new star to be born. Okay. This means something new is waiting to just come out of
mhm,
you, which is what the solstice is asking. I did a whole cosmic
mhm,
consciousness on this week of literally what are you willing to let die in order to be your truest
mm,
self? That's what
mhm,
Spirit said. So, this is the focus over the summer, this supernova card, because this new explosive light energy is waiting to come through. And then it's echoed by this boon card, which says, Heaven is rushing in and showering you with blessings. Open your heart to receive. Right? So, this huge energy is wanting to move through you in deep connection to your soul purpose.
mhm,
It just needs you to renegotiate a few things. So if you really make the most of the summer solstice, then you open up the doorway for this. It's like leaving your
mhm,
front door open for when this comes in.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I love that.
Totally amazing. What a great pull. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny. It feels like this summer is to be both like very slow, like slowing down and, you know, finding those moments that we've talked about, but then also like very impactful and big. And I don't know what the astrology is like over the summer, but just it feels like there's going to be a lot at the same time. And it's going to be both of those things at once.
Mhm. Yeah,
A
I
lot of
agree.
forward movement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us throughout this whole season. I was
Year
this whole year. I'm like, wait a minute. No, that doesn't
for the
apply with this.
graduating class of 2025.
Totally. Oh man.
Actually, though,
Um,
we are.
yeah, right. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to connecting with all of you in the summer. So please do keep the questions coming. If you have questions or specific topics you want, you can put them in the comments as well as you can email us at hello@avalonspirit.com with any questions and we can bring them on as show topics or just
Mhm.
Q&As within Spirit Coffee Talk. So thank you all so much. We wish you a beautiful summer, truly beautiful summer of awakening, a wonderful solstice, and we'll see you in September.